How does a pianist go from this to this in just 19 years? It takes practice. According to Albert Franz from the website keynotes.com, a young child needs to practice 15 to 20 minutes each day. When they are teenagers, that goes up to at least 30 minutes, if not an hour a day. But how do I get my child to practice? Well, I have learned that there are three main ways to get your child to practice. There are incentives, there is punishment, and then there's to make it fun. On the first one, incentives. The first incentive is, if you practice, I'll give you however much dollars you want. Now, different people, different amounts, different ages of child. But just pay them for practice. Sometimes that works. Sometimes it doesn't. The second incentive is if there's a big performance coming up and they really need to practice. Say, I'll get you the video game you have been wanting, the toy, whatever. I'll buy this bigger item for you if you'll practice. There again, it works for that short-term time that they need to practice. The third method of an incentive is to change the setting of where you're practicing. I found that it worked going over to my mother-in-law's house and letting my child practice piano over at grandma's house. It was a different place. It made it so much more fun. Another place we went to was over to the church, and he played the piano over at the church. It worked. It got his piano practicing in, and he did better. So that was one of the best incentives I had. The next method is punishment. The first punishment is yelling. And yes, it works. Yes, it gets your child to practice, but are they really practicing well? I never found that he practiced very well when he was being yelled at to practice. The second punishment is, do you remember in the incentive we got the new toy or video game? Well, the punishment side of it is that gets taken away if they don't practice. There again, it works. But there again, you have the grumpy child. They don't practice as well. So, what can I say? The third method is grounding. Okay, you've grounded them from whatever they wanted to go do. Now what? You've got a grumpy child. Maybe he'll practice, but not the best practicing. So, punishment, I found, did not work for me. The third method is to have fun with practice. You can make the practice time a game. You can say, okay, we're going to, at the beginning, look for all the C's in this piece of music. Or as they go along, look for the fifths or whatever they're learning. Make it a game. Make it a hide and seek in their music of something to do. A second way of making it fun is to break up the practice time. Okay, practice for 10 minutes. And then you can watch a video on YouTube or you can whatever for another 10 minutes. Then go back to practicing and go back and forth. That way, they're not going, they're practicing and they're doing a good job of it. A third way of making it fun is to create challenges. Practicepedia author Philip Johnson says, don't ask your kids to practice. They won't know what to do. Instead, give them bite-sized challenges to complete, such as working out fingering, gradually playing a section faster, or even playing one hand from memory. Of the three different types of practice, ways to get your child to practice, incentives, punishment, and fun, I did find that the incentives and the fun worked the best. But I do know that no one method of getting your child to practice will work for everyone. I found out with my son, who is now an organ performance major, there has to be a desire to play the piano in the end.